welcome back to the Yegi Project. Today's guest is Panney Wei, and I'm so excited to have her on our podcast. I randomly ran into her at our salon for eyelash extensions, and with a brief conversation, I was like, hey, be on our podcast. You sound cool and interesting. Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all. Family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi Project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives. So Panney not only is an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, a spiritual guide, not coach, not a guide, right?
I'm a
more of a coach or guide?
I'm both, actually.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Hypnotherapist, and also she's been on podcasts, she's a radio TV host, and many, many more. So let's give her the floor. Please, Panney, if you can introduce yourself in your own words, tell us who you are and what do you do?
Okay. So happy to be here. I'm really honored to be on your podcast. Like any opportunity, I always thank God for these opportunities to be able to share what I do and to help people. So thank you for this platform as well. I'm actually a certified clinical hypnotherapist. I have also a degree in mind-body psychology. And in my college years, I studied international relations. So I internationally relate to people now. But in that respect, I've always been a community activist. I'm very, very active in the API, diversity, promoting women in arts, politics, and entertainment. As a hypnotherapist, I'm also a motivational speaker. So part of the work that I do is to empower people to kind of live their fullest lives up to their fullest potential, help them to remove obstacles. And then also outside of that, I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm a restaurateur. I have a restaurant called Niku X, which is a Japanese yakiniku and wagyu restaurant.
Ooh, sounds delicious.
Yeah, thank you. We opened it last year, made the Michelin Guide. Thank you. Thank you. We're so excited about it. And we're coming up to our 1-year anniversary. And I'm also an investor. So I invest in products and brands that I feel are innovative and making a meaningful difference or helping to change culture. So I'm part of Momofuku, Impossible Foods. I just joined the Boba Ice Cream. And I have another project in the works that is coming up, and I'm a partner in a new Broadway musical called Lempicka about the revolutionary Art Deco artist Tamara de Lempicka, and that opens at the Longtime Theater in New York on March 19th, which is next week.
How exciting! What are you doing with the Broadway show specifically?
I'm one of the partners,
I see.
And so there are many people involved in making this show come to life. It's just like in film. It takes an entire big team, production team, crew, all the producers, all the investors to make one concept come to life. So I'm honored to be a part of that project. You're investing
in that project.
Yes,
as well.
yeah.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Now tell our listeners, I have so many questions because you mentioned so many things. Tell our listeners, how did you even get started with the hypnotherapy itself?
Right. I actually was a competitive figure skater when I was little. Okay. So we used hypnosis for sports performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you were introduced to it. You're like, oh, this works.
Well, yeah, I was so nervous. I was so nervous when I started competing when I was about 6. Okay. And then my coach at the time was just like, oh my God, we need to help this girl. Because she looks really nervous. So I learned some relaxation techniques that a lot of athletes use to create that body-mind connection so that your, mind is very relaxed, body is relaxed also. And then you really, really sort of rehearse whatever you're doing. Like if it's as a figure skater, for me, it was like rehearsing your routine in your mind, and calming the nerves down so you won't get nervous. And then, there's an aspect of like training that you do in your physical body, that you have muscle memory, but the mind is so powerful.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because there also have been studies done where if somebody exercises in their mind, they will have physical change within their body or their strength. I think I was reading that in a book where they were documenting all the studies.
Yes.
It's incredible. You don't think it's actually a thing, but unless like people actually use study groups and check scientific facts of the change, it's just crazy. It's crazy, the power of the mind.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of what I've learned as an athlete and also in my professional life, like that a lot of it's understanding how your body and your mind work in conjunction with each other. But there's also like an element of faith when you are activating any goal that you want to achieve. You want to also remove the obstacles to your path, and some of it is in your mind, some of it's in your environment. So that's where like hypnotherapy actually helps with removing self-imposed obstacles or negative belief systems about yourself. But then there's also like an element of faith, because you have to believe in yourself. And if you're a person that is a spiritual person like I am, and you believe in a higher power, you can incorporate that into how you manifest things in your life, or how you go about living your daily life, or how you de-stress, decompress, so you're not like alone in this world. There are many aspects to this world and the universe that help you achieve your goals. And so it's yourself, and then it's also maybe a little bit of assistance from the universe.
Of course. And a lot of people, like as you said, even bringing a show to life, it takes teams. It takes a lot of people. So I think our life kind of falls together that way as well. Sometimes we think we're in our lives or whatever goal we have, we're in it alone. But it really does take a lot of people and I am a believer of, the universe and higher power as well. So I do think everything happens for a reason to get to that goal. Now you mentioned manifesting. Now I know a lot of people talk about this and affirmations in today's world, but a lot of times I feel like people can have the wrong idea of it or how they do it. Can you talk a little bit about your practice with affirmations or manifesting, and how you can tie that to hypnotherapy?
Okay. So in my practice as a hypnotherapist, I often teach workshops where we are working with the laws of attraction. But part of the manifesting is also clearing the path internally. So you can wish for everything that you want and pray for everything you want, but you also have to clear the path in your mind.
So what does that mean? Can you give us kind of an example? I'm sure that makes sense to you, but for someone like me who has no idea, what does that mean? So
a lot of times when people come to me and they're like, oh, I'm having trouble like manifesting this goal, or I'm stuck in the rut, or why have I not attracted more love in my life, or anything like that. Sometimes you have to actually look deeper. You have to go into the blockages. Yes, you have to go into the soul, you have to go into your spirit, you have to do that hard work of self-analysis, look into your past and look at what your behavioral patterns are, and then you change them. And the way to change it is actually through hypnotherapy or hypnosis. And then when I do my workshops, we do a little bit of vision boarding, so vision mapping. So the way the brain works in terms of the laws of attraction is it has to see things in pictures. So we conceptually, logical mind know, oh, these are the things that I want to manifest. But in order for it to be activated in your life, you have to plant the seed in your subconscious mind, because that's where everything starts growing. That's
where change happens. That's why for kids also, right? They're able to learn new things so much more easier because they're more in their subconscious mind when they're younger.
Where they don't have as many obstacles because they're not stuck in their ego. So as the brain forms, we start developing an ego. And so that is part of the, when you're raising children, you're a mom, I'm a mom, so we can see how they grow and how they evolve. The brain evolves also, and how they grow spiritually. You can see that as the brain develops, they're more conscious of their world and their reality, right? And their place in it. They form their perceptions based on how people perceive them too.
Of course.
And our feedback to them at home. That creates a sense of self, right? If you have parents that didn't give you some of that feedback, that positive feedback, it sometimes creates sort of a negative maybe belief system about yourself if you've never heard anything at all. It's really hard to understand where your place is in the world. And so those individuals, you know, as an adult, when they grow up, they have a little bit of a harder time actually manifesting sometimes.
I see.
And that is a sign that there has to be some deep healing.
And
so that, and that's usually,
and that's most of us.
yeah. And also it's something that I like love to do. It's a form of journey that I love to assist people in, because I love helping people heal trauma from the past. And it's no one has like perfect parents or perfect childhood, you know. You can be as idyllic as possible. I mean, I have an immigrant story. So you have those obstacles and that identity crisis that I had to kind of experience. And then parents that could, you know, were trying to adjust to American life and create their American dream. So as much as they were struggling, I was struggling along with them.
Of course, yeah, and I definitely can relate on that part as well.
Yeah, so you're an immigrant too.
Yes, I wasn't born here.
Yeah, same here. So I'm from Taiwan. So those like early formative memories plant seeds in your mind. And so we lived in like the Midwest at first. My dad was doing his residency. He had to start all over as a doctor here. And we were in like small towns, and then we went to New York and New Jersey. And when we were in New Jersey, oh my gosh, like Missouri, Ohio, we experienced a lot of racism.
Oh, okay.
And so that experience, you know, it kind of colored me in terms of like how I perceive myself.
And is that why you have such a passion to make sure that doesn't happen to young immigrants or young Asians nowadays? Because I know you're an advocate, you volunteer, and you're part of a lot of groups for that, right?
Yes, and it's not just like Asians, it's all minorities, or people of color, or diverse individuals, or women, anybody who's underrepresented. I'm always like really, really promoting and fighting for justice and peace and equity.
I love that.
Yeah. So if it's equity as a woman and our place in a man's world in business, how do we equalize that, and how do we level the playing field? Or if it's with minorities, you know, our obstacles are based about sometimes our people's perceptions about us, or the color of our skin, or stereotypes that have to be shattered. And that's part of the reason why I'm so involved in the media space, or even food, because I feel...
So how did food come into the mix? Let's talk a little bit about that.
I'm like, well, you know, we show love through food, especially...
Oh, I love food.
Yeah.
Don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah, like in Asian culture, it's a big thing. So, and I grew up cooking and watching my family members cook. My mom is a great cook. I learned to cook too. And it's just, it's been a big part of our culture, our family dynamic, and our value system. And I also love the fact that food brings people together. It's a unifying force. It equalizes things. So if you're coming to my restaurants, all different types of colors and all different types of people from many different demographics. And I love that food can be a universal tool in creating unity and bridging cultures and having meaningful dialogue and conversation. And then the same thing with like anything I do in the media, it's about positive messaging in the world, like making this world a better place through the projects I'm a part of that have inspiring stories or make a difference in people's lives or touch their hearts or teach an important message. Yeah. It's powerful too.
Yeah, it's definitely necessary.
Yes. Yes.
So talking a little bit more about starting or being part of a restaurant, because you said you're investing in it. How involved are you within the restaurant? And did you have any guidance to get into that business? Because you were more, you know, into a different space. You're like, oh, I want to take on food. So how was that experience?
I think it was not that difficult transition.
Okay.
I have people in my family who have always been entrepreneurs.
Okay.
My parents are as well. They have their own businesses, and some of my relatives actually were restaurant owners. Okay, so you had some idea of how things run and work. Okay. Yes, and I think with any type of concept, it's all about having a good team around you.
Definitely.
Good family of people that you know you can work well with. And we definitely have that with our new restaurant, Niku X. It's now a year old.
Where is it? I would love to check it out.
Oh, it's at the Intercontinental Hotel downtown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Close to me.
Yes.
Close enough.
Yeah. And so it's a bit, and it's also marketing and promoting, and I'm really good mouthpiece for anything I'm very passionate about. So I'm like, yes, let's do this. I want to tell everyone. So I think it's also that. So it's a balance. So I know what my strengths are when I go into a new team. And for me, it's like, I know good cooking. I'm also a cook. I'm also a private chef. Like, I know what good food tastes like. And I really trust my instincts when I meet people and they come to me and they want to create something together, or they want to collaborate. If this is, we think about it, this is a good partnership.
And the intuition part of it too, I'm sure.
Yes. And also, like, everyone has different strengths. So everyone does whatever they're best at. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's so important, because a lot of times a lot of people think they need to do everything on their own, but the reality of it, like you said, is not all of us have the strength of every aspect of running a business, especially as the business gets to a bigger scale. Now, since you are an entrepreneur, and our podcast really focuses on young entrepreneurs who want to grow as well, what is the number one advice, or what's one of the skills that you would you think an entrepreneur needs to have to be successful?
I think one of the first things would be trusting their instincts and be willing to take risks. Okay. And to work on trusting their intuition. Okay. So sometimes people ask me, how do you make decisions on which groups to actually work with? And part of it is actually you're doing a little bit of analysis, like calculated risk analysis on the company that you want to partner with, or whatever brand you want to work with. Or it's also partly due to your intuition, like sort of your instincts about something, and doing enough research. But I think it's having that sense of passion for and identifying whatever space you want to work in or play in, right? So I'm like really passionate about food. I really love anything entertainment, media related. I love anything that helps people transform themselves. So wellness is a space that I'm very passionate about. So these kind of three areas are sort of what keeps me going, wakes me up in the morning, and it doesn't like feel so much like work. It just feels like I'm moving along with my purpose in life. Of course. So I think as an entrepreneur, it's about also identifying what your skill set is. Like, what are you really, really good at? What area do you want to engage in? And then really having good advisors. Hopefully you have somebody around you that you can bounce off your ideas with, that can maybe guide you. Yeah,
and if you don't have someone, that's what coaches and mentors are for. So you have to find someone, right?
Yeah, and I have like those people too. A lot of the times it's a humbling process when you realize, wait, I don't know how to do this. Can I do it? And you have a little imposter syndrome, and then you have to tell yourself, no. The wisdom that I've been given is that imposter syndrome is really just an indication that you're meant to do something that will stretch and grow you. So the ego will come into play and make you doubt yourself for a little bit. But then that is compelled to move forward. And so part of what I've been taught whenever you get that feeling of like self-doubt is that you should just go forward and try. Because the worst thing that could happen is that maybe you don't do so well, or maybe it doesn't do well. You know, I had a client who was my hypnotherapy client. I'd worked with her for about 3 years. Okay. I helped her in her personal life get through a breakup, and all the way to the point where she got engaged and married. Wow. And in those 3 years, I saw her start a business, lose the business, and she had like a investor that put in $1 million or so into it. And that's like kind of relatively small in terms of how much money you would raise.
Of course.
Failed that business, and then start another, and then go on Shark Tank, and then get a deal. So it's just like, it's sort of that, if you're an entrepreneur, it's like having that entrepreneurial spirit and that sense of being able to take risks and also to learn from failures. And they're not really failures. They're just learning experiences where
and maneuvering through
it. Yeah, through it. Like, what did I not do well here? How can I do it better? Maybe the concept wasn't that great. Maybe it didn't catch on as much or whatever. But it's finding that sweet spot, that perfect sort of blend of what will make you successful and with the right concept or idea.
Yeah, and it sounds like if you were to put it in one word, it's resilience, really, right? You do have to be very resilient as an entrepreneur because things can change and you have to adapt and make different decisions on the daily.
Yes, exactly. And you know, your energy, you're going to get results wherever you put your energy, right? So with anything in life, right?
Of course.
So I always I never take anything for granted, especially being in the food and beverage industry and in the restaurant business as a restaurateur. Like, none of that I ever take for granted because I understand the space is very volatile sometimes or unstable. But if you have a good team and you're constantly promoting it and you're putting your energy into it, it'll continue to thrive the best of your ability, and everyone else is in the team. And having that singular vision around success as well is really important. So
we talked about a lot, right? You're dabbling in a lot of businesses. You're also doing your practice and that's also part of your business, the hypnotherapy. How do you manage it all? So what does a typical day? I know not every day is gonna look the same. No entrepreneur's days look the same exactly every day. Some days are crazy and some days we just choose not to do anything.
Right.
But what does kind of a typical work day look like for you if someone was to follow you around and or like a week? How do you manage it all? Time-wise.
I think first of all, being a mom means that you, at least the type of mom I'm sure you and I are, we learn to be really good managers and organizers.
Multitaskers.
Yes, and multitaskers and managing your life with your children. You know, I have one 13-year-old daughter and she's awesome. And she's such a blessing, gift in my life. Like, I really thank God every day that I have her.
Aww.
Yeah. And she's such an inspiration. So I mean, my day looks like, basically I schedule my day around her schedule. So
like it
typical,
or not, right? Like
typical.
it or not, as a parent, you have to prioritize them.
Yeah, and I don't have a nanny, so it's like, it's me.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm up really early, I get her going, and then I start my day. Usually I like to start my day with some exercise because that endorphin, adrenaline is actually good for the brain. Kind of kickstart your day, get some fresh air, oxygen, move your body, and then I get going with if it's hypnotherapy clients, they're usually scheduled in like 3-hour increments, so that my mind is focused for this particular
type of work.
This type of work, yes, and then I will segment. Some, if it has to do with the other things, the other projects I'm a part of, the other businesses, then it's scheduled around that. So that would be like the afternoon or something. But I work around my hypnotherapy clients.
Of course.
And also I kind of work around what's needed to be done immediately. And then obviously then the afternoon is for my daughter's activities and everything. And sometimes if I have events to go to in the evening that are all work related, or they're related to the nonprofit organizations that I serve on the board for, those things are managed as well. Like I think being a mom, as you know,
they come, you just fill your calendar and follow one thing at a time, one day at a time.
I know, and things change, and I feel like really the only way to kind of have it all, because people always ask you, can you have it all? It's like, I think you can have it at certain moments, like not all at the same time. Like conceptually maybe, but I think it takes a village. Like that's true. For anything to happen in your life, you need a lot of good support. And so I'm lucky I have an incredible family. My parents are incredibly supportive, and they my daughter's the only grandchild, so they're just like
Bring her over.
Yeah, let's hang out. Yeah, she's the only grandchild. So if I have to do anything, my mom is always there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel very blessed for that too. My mom as well. My kids are the only grandkids they have, so they love to help. They really do love to help, but sometimes I feel bad for them.
It's okay.
Yeah, but they love it, so I feel very blessed to use them as needed, for childcare.
Yeah, and you know what? The thing is, it benefits the child. So
it does.
It benefits the child, because if you look back on your own childhood, for instance, we are immigrants. So because we had to come to America, we left the grandparents. They were in Taiwan. And I missed that relationship. And there's something lovely about having a relationship with the generations that are older, because they're so wise and they have so much wisdom.
And they have such a different perspective from their lives towards the grandkids versus even how they were towards us as their kids. They're more lenient, but they discipline and they love in a different way when it's a grandkid.
And that's actually so good for your children's like heart and spirit and self-esteem and their understanding of how they their place in the world and the family lineage. I think that's really important too, so they know where they come from, because grandparents always tell different stories, you know? Like there's stories that my daughter knows that I'm like, Grandma told you that? I'm like, I didn't know about that story. Can you tell me? And then I'll call my mom, like, why don't you tell me those stories? And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. But this happened and this happened, and it's really cool. There's a more carefree relationship between the grandparent and child.
And also, they have someone else they can go to if they don't feel comfortable talking to you about something. If they have those really good bonds with grandparents, they can hopefully go to them.
Or they're entirely entertained. That's just their entertainment, my mom is like hilarious, so she and my daughter have like the funniest relationship and the best. So my mom's like really fun,
so you can get some you time because we're talking about our well-being, and I think it's so important to be able to get some time to ourselves as well,
or just to recalibrate or have adult time with others, with other adults.
So we talked about your typical day. That's kind of how you manage it. How about a challenge? So we've talked about all the fun parts of being an entrepreneur, but as I know, every entrepreneur has gone through difficulties through business, personal lives, and that kind of also helps you get strong and get better at what you do. What is a challenge that you had to face personally or within business that you overcame, or that you're still working on overcoming?
A challenge as an entrepreneur,
or personal, whatever you want to share.
I think it would be, and this is the first thing that came in my mind, and it's probably thematically this week that I've seen some people go through, and this has to do with identifying snakes in the grass. Snakes in the grass, like when you encounter people who, if you're like a person of pure heart and pure spirit, you're going to attract opportunities and people,
and the type of people
you like moths to a flame, and if the pure heart you are, the more I actually feel, and the more you give coming from a place from your heart, which is where I'm heart-centered kind of person. For anything I do, you attract everything. And so I think the hardest part sometimes is to discern when people are very charismatic in the beginning, but they actually misrepresent themselves.
I see.
Yeah, so they're actually hiding their true intention. Perhaps maybe they're a user. Maybe they're a snake in the grass. They pretend to be kind, or they pretend to be
just to get what they want.
Yeah, and once they get it, they're gone. Or they're gonna get it, and they're gonna keep getting it from you. So it's that kind of thing where I think as you get older, you see your kids kind of go through this in middle school. It starts happening because you see that there are all these hormone changes cause children to experiment and take risks on relationships and how they interact with other people. And they start being some kids might have a mean streak and be unkind, but none of that actually ever goes away. As an adult, you still experience those type of interactions with people, but it's a lot more complex.
I see.
Yeah, so I think overcoming that, where you can identify if, for instance, like if there's an opportunity coming your way, someone's pitching you something, and it might seem like an okay concept that you might engage with, because maybe there's an opportunity for you to make money, or, you know,
be a part of something
interesting, but you're not sure about their intention. But they are so charismatic in the beginning. They're representing themselves well. And then when you get down to the nitty gritty and all the details, then you realize, wait a minute, you know?
Yeah, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, or something like that. So I think sometimes the challenge is
identifying deceitful people.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, and that also takes a little bit of practice. Like,
does.
I don't think that you can ever avoid him, you know? You can get an instinct or impression about someone that you're just like, something's off.
Yeah.
And you should trust your instincts.
You should always. Yeah.
But some people out there are extremely charismatic, and sometimes people who have some narcissistic tendencies, or who have some aspect of borderline personality disorders, are extremely charismatic individuals.
Or you believe them. And I think it's easier for people, like you said, you work with your heart, you try to be a pure soul, and that's how you do business as well. Yeah. And that's how I do business as well. Yeah. And I think it's harder for people like that to overlook this, because you assume a lot of times other people in front of you are the same. Right. You hope that they're as kind or as pure-hearted or as like open book intention up front. Yes. But then you can fall for things that you don't mean to, because it's presented to you, in a perfect manner, as you said. Yes. So yes. I totally get what you're talking about, and stuff like that has happened to me in business too. And you learn from it. You learn to be more and more careful. I actually have a very stupid example, but it's when initially I got into business. I opened the salon. We had 0 clients. I just kind of like jumped into it, and somebody came up knocking on our door, and he was selling ads, physical ad space on a pizza menu. Okay, and he made it sound so good. It was going to help me so much. It's going to bring me so many clients. And, being busy as an entrepreneur too, it wasn't that big of an investment. I was like, yeah, sign me up. Why not? And then later on, I found, like when I looked into the details, his intentions were just to sell. His intentions were not just to make my business grow. It wasn't a two-way street. Yeah. And I fell for it because he seemed so pure-hearted. Like, he was face-to-face to me. He seemed so pure-hearted that he wants to help my new business grow. But yeah, so that's kind of a very simple, small thing that you can fall for as an entrepreneur, or a challenge in business. Yeah.
So, I mean, he sounds like a very good salesman. Yeah. And he came into your life so that you could learn a lesson too. So the universe brought him into your life for your wisdom, to grow in wisdom.
Yeah, so I never made that mistake.
You never made it, and it didn't cost that much.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't regret that.
See, if you think about that, you never regret that, because sometimes that's how we learn. It's not like a physical education that we pay for at school, but it's like life teaches you lessons, and sometimes you have to maybe pay the price that way. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the better you are at identifying individuals like that, the less pain you have to go through.
So is that a challenge you recently faced that you overcame? Because that was the initial question. We kind of went all over the place with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that happens often.
Okay, but that's the category of like general challenges that you think it's the hardest.
Because I think that's applicable to business and personal. Like, if you're going to put it in the dating world, it's a completely different scenario.
Oh
yeah. So if in the dating world, everyone's on their best behavior in the beginning. Yeah. And the way I like to conduct, like with dating, is always with clarity.
Do you have timeline to get to know somebody? Like, do you give them a timeline before you actually are like, okay, I know this person? Because like you said in the beginning, everybody presents themselves as Mr. Perfect or Miss Perfect. Do you have like a timeline of when you're like, okay, let me see your true colors? It takes like 3 months or 6 months.
Really? So in hypnotherapy, in behavioral science, it usually takes either 6 weeks to 6 months before
it's actual science.
Yeah, before people actually show their true colors. So what happens when you first meet another person that you're interested in dating is that all that dopamine and norepinephrine, all those happy hormones get activated, and it causes that feeling of that, what they call the honeymoon phase, like that feeling of elation. You're kind of excited about this new person, new opportunity. That eventually dies down no matter what happens. In about from 6 weeks to 6 months, could be any time in between. You can't keep up with that act forever.
So don't marry anybody within the first 6 months.
That's right.
Give it 6 months.
But I don't have a timeline. I think it really just takes conversation. And for me, the timeline is shorter for me just because maybe I'm better at identifying it because of my training.
Too, yeah.
I know myself. I know what I'm looking for. And I know I have a background in training and hypnotherapy, so that helps me. It's like a little bit of my my superpower. Yeah, so like I can.
No one's wasting your time.
Yeah, and also I'm not wasting theirs. Like,
Yes.
like I think it's important like to be upfront in the beginning to express what you're looking for, you know.
Yeah.
And some people again might misrepresent themselves.
Yeah, because they're also afraid of probably
losing
what
an
they
opportunity.
they want. They're afraid to actually voice what they actually want for some reason.
Yeah, or they don't want to lose the opportunity, so they kind of, you know, sugarcoat things a little bit. Like, oh, if for instance, someone goes, oh, I'm looking for a long-term partner, long-term relationship, and you know, let's say it's a man or a woman, right? Let's say I'm the woman and the guy, and it's a heterosexual relationship, and the guy's like really attracted to the person.
Yeah, they don't.
Is he really gonna say, "Oh, I'm not looking for a long-term relationship"? He may or may not say the truth. You don't know.
Exactly.
That's why it's so important to actually, no matter what gender or sex you are, that you operate from your own internal compass and you trust your internal guidance system, because people will say whatever they need to say sometimes to get whatever they need to get. You know, I need to court this person X amount of times before I can bed them. I'm going to bed them and then wed them later, maybe. But I'm going to bed them first, you know? You know what I mean? So, like, you want to kind of have as many conversations as possible. Like,
Of course.
especially in person, you can read the body language, you can feel their energy.
Yeah.
And then you can like really watch behavior, experience their behavior towards you, and then you'll figure it out, right? And if you know what you want, that's the most important thing, and act from a place of kindness. Like if it's not a match, and you can tell that your goals are not in alignment with theirs, or values are not in alignment, you can just merely say, like, this is not a match. Yeah. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah,
you don't have to make them feel bad. Yeah, it's nobody's fault. Maybe it's sometimes their fault.
Somebody's fault,
but you don't have to say it, you know, because you're not like their mother. You don't have to teach them anything. They must learn for themselves. Yeah. They're going to continue their pattern until they wake up one day. But you're a part of their process too.
Exactly.
You know?
So much to think about, right?
Yeah. No, I had someone tell me recently, because of our interaction, you woke me up to something I didn't see about myself, and I realized I kind of screwed up, and I'm really sorry about that.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, oh my God, well, thank you very much.
Good for you.
Thank you. I know, good for you. I thank you very much. I bless you on your journey.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Everybody's part of everybody's journey.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have those experiences, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, in whatever way. And I find it very amusing sometimes.
It is, yeah. Now that I'm thinking, I'm like, this is super amusing. It really is. I love relationships, any kind of relationships. I think they're very interesting. Even human behavior. I think I like human behavior. So sometimes I'll kind of like analyze people, and I'm like, oh, I think this is what's going in their head.
Yeah, or you just like, what makes people do things, you know? And, you know.
But that's part of business too, right? Marketing. It's like you think marketing is marketing, but marketing is really psychology.
It really is. All sales is a little bit of hypnosis too.
Yeah.
All sales is
well,
a little
let's
bit
talk
of,
about hypnosis.
It's all, yeah.
Yeah, so sorry to cut you off. So we've mentioned it so many times that I don't know if I even fully understand what it is. So can you, if somebody were to come to you, I'm like, hey, what is hypnosis? Like, what do you actually do in a session?
Yeah.
Can you explain that for our listeners?
Yes, of course. So hypnosis is a form of cognitive behavioral therapy. It has to do with your subconscious mind. So when you're first born and you're living in your environment, you are very suggestible to your primary caregiver and your environment and what is like fed to you through words. And so that plants seeds in the subconscious mind about how you feel about yourself. So in your brain, you form positive associations and negative associations.
Well, you're making me want to be with my kids 24/7 to make sure I plant the right seeds in their head.
You've done enough. And then also your teachers do their part half the day. So it's like important that the teachers are good too.
Yeah.
And so these sort of belief systems are embedded in the mind, in the brain. And when people feel like they're kind of stuck in a rut or they can't change some pattern and they're very aware of it, that's when they ask the hypnotherapist to help. So in a session, we do some traditional cognitive behavioral therapy or other types of behavior therapy that has to do with talk therapy and talking about whatever's going on in their life and coming to the root of the problem, which is how I work. And then the last 10-15 minutes is actual hypnosis. And I test them how they hear and process words. So I know how to hypnotize them in the way that they can receive the information.
And that's to get them to that subconscious...
Get into the subconscious mind. So in between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind there's a gatekeeper. There's a part of the brain that actually protects all those associations, those negative associations or belief systems about yourself, or anything traumatic is embedded in the brain, in the memory. And so you need a hypnotherapist to guide you past that.
I see.
Yeah. Because you can, like, you and I can use our logical mind, which we're doing right now, our conscious mind. We're talking about, like, for instance, like whatever we want to change in our lives, right? But to actually form the change is harder to do.
It is, yeah. That's why a lot of people are better advice givers than followers.
Hopefully you live congruently. Like I'd like to say, like, hopefully everything I teach is something I also practice as well.
Yes, same. Yeah. But the reality of it is easier to give advice than follow your own advice, right? A lot of times we also know, we should be doing all these things as great habits.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's really difficult. No matter how hard you try, you can't. Maybe something's blocking you in your subconscious mind.
Oh, girl, I just had this issue with a girlfriend of mine, and I was like, she would give me like her feedback on things. I'm like, that is really good. I was like, why don't you take your own advice? Because you have a problem that's really not great. It's like a love relationship she's having trouble with. And I was like, I think everything you
told me, take it.
Flip it around. I should just record you and just listen. And she's like, oh yeah, you're right. Oh my God, you're right. I was like, yeah.
Now let's
but she's
schedule
stubborn.
a session.
Oh man, but she was like so stubborn. She didn't even take her own advice. I was like, okay, girl, like you're on your own journey.
Exactly. Everybody does things in their own time. Now, talking about doing things on our own time, I always like to ask people this question. It's always interesting. So first thing that comes to your mind. So if you had a magic wand, then you can change anything in the world, like instantly right now, what would it be?
Oh my goodness.
I know it's a hard one because we want to change the world, but
I would love to, again, it's like having more peace, love, and unity. Like I would like that between nations and between worlds and between people. And I actually feel like that's part of the reason why I like do everything I do. Like my life is purposeful in these areas because I hope that everything I do lends to more peace and unity and harmony or transformation or healing people, bring people together. So I think I would wish for that. Like I would wish for people to have happy, healthy home lives and good mental health.
Oh,
you know?
yes.
Yeah. Because then if you have all of that, then it translates into generations. even communities.
And other people,
Yeah, into the leaders that run the world, So that's what I probably would pray for.
Yeah, I love that. You've been successful in many careers. So in order to do this, we always need to know how to change gear, switch, maneuver, do a backflip. We always need to figure out a way to maneuver through life. If it's career, personal, and like it or not, it's always going to happen, right? I've come to terms that things never stay the same. Things always change. We'll forget about some projects, we bring on new projects, we make changes in business, we make changes in our personal lives. Yes. So just from your experience, what is there like a way that you maneuver through these like changes in life? Is there an indicator that, okay, like I need to give up on something or stop something, choose a new career, move to a new direction? How has your experience been in that area of business?
I love
life.
I love that. It's such a good question. It has to do with almost like the art of letting go.
Oh, I've heard of that book. That's a book, right?
I don't know. I just made it up.
Like that sounds like a book.
I just made it up right now. Actually, I think I might write it myself. I've been thinking about that for a while.
There you go. You have a title.
Because the general theme in my life has been all about rebuilding. So it's like I was thinking about that the other day about the legacy of my family. Like, my parents came from China, and on my dad's side, we had a lot of educated landowners and everything. And I'm related to General Tso. General Tso's chicken in Chinese restaurants.
I'm horrible at knowing things. I don't, but I'm sure a lot of our listeners
do. In pop culture, it's a very popular American Chinese dish. It's in most Chinese restaurants. Okay. It's called General Tso's chicken. But he was actually
your grandpa?
He's a real life ancestor of mine.
Oh, nice.
And he lived in the Qing dynasty, late 1800s.
Wow, going way back.
Yeah, 5 generations for me. And he was a statesman, and he served the Qing dynasty, and he became part of the imperial court. But, and my mom's side, my maternal grandfather was a senator in Taiwan. But when they escaped from communist China to Taiwan, both families, it's all about like rebuilding.
Of course.
Letting go of the past, rebuilding your life, rebuilding and becoming a new person, letting go of what was before and being reborn again. And then from there, immigrating to America, it's the same cycle.
Yeah, that gave me goosebumps because I could relate. I'm Armenian, and that happened to long ago, but that happened to my people too, moving to different countries, trying to rebuild so many times.
Yeah, so many times. And so you get good at resilience, and you learn to trust your instincts. And going back to why this podcast, is born because of entrepreneurship. Like you have that sort of entrepreneurial spirit, that risk-taking spirit. And so I think it's in my DNA. And,
I never thought of it that way. It's like we're shaped from so long ago.
We are. If you take the time to meditate about it and you think about legacy, like, so I am like writing something about this and how it's in your collective consciousness and in your family legacy, it's in your blood. And so like to answer your question, like, how do you know when to go from one thing to another, even in personal relationships? I was in a very long-term marriage, and there was a moment where it was just time to move forward. And no one ever gets married wanting to get divorced. It's a very difficult decision to make.
I could only imagine. Even just breaking up with a regular relationship of 1 year or 2 years, it's so difficult.
Yeah, and so and if you're in this, like, even in your career path where you are in one position in your whatever industry you're in, and you feel like it's time to move on, I feel it's more of a spiritual journey. So I'm very spiritual. So what I'm guided by is internal guidance that is connected to something greater than me. And it's a little bit based on instinct also. You kind of know when, if you are promoted, if your life is dictated by a purpose-driven life where your soul is constantly growing and it's seeking new experiences for your soul expansion, and it means also the expansion of your consciousness and your abundance too. Yeah. And also your happiness. Then you're going to trust when it's going to tell you this doesn't feel right for me anymore.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a mistake a lot of people make, that they don't stop and listen to themselves.
Yeah.
They just kind of ignore it or push it to the side, or they just get tied up in the negative feelings instead of listening to, because I think a lot of times we all know the answers to our biggest questions, and that's why sometimes we need help kind of getting it out of us.
Yes.
But we just ignore it, you know. Like you said, if you really want answers, you go really within, and you know the answer. You just have to listen to it. Would you have to agree to that statement?
Yeah, I think so. And also, and I believe so, and I know so. So it's like when you feel like you're in this position, and say it's in your one career or job, and you just feel like you can't grow anymore. If your purpose in life is to continue to grow, and you've done everything you can here, and you're highly ambitious, then maybe it's time to make a lateral move or a vertical move. You don't know. You have to move forward.
There's something you gotta do.
You have to move forward. And same thing in personal relationships too. Because it takes two people to tango, right? Two people to, like, a relationship is its living thing that two people are creating together, and this living thing must also grow. Just like in business, this business concept, like your business, is a living thing that all these people on your team create every day and lend their energy to grow. And so it has to keep growing, otherwise it's
not gonna move
be
forward.
stagnant. And so if you keep that goal in mind, I think that helps with knowing, like, oh gosh, I need to pivot over here, or maybe I need to make a little bit of adjustment in the current relationship or the current business. Make some adjustment.
But that letting go part, I think, is the part that a lot of people have a difficulty with, and I can relate to, you know, letting go of anything, like you said, in relationships or in business or in personal life is hard, because you also want to you also don't want to feel like, oh, you failed something, or that you are giving up on something, right? So, but what would you say would be kind of like the words of encouragement of letting go? Because in like you said, in spirituality and in your own journey, like, you've known, like, deep inside, it's time to move on, it's time to let go. What advice would you give on that? How do you listen to that?
It has to do, it's almost like when you hit kind of rock bottom, or you're feeling a sense of stagnation. Like if it's in personal relationships, you'll know because it's not in alignment. Things are not in alignment, or this person's not in alignment, you know, and without any judgment of the other person at all. Like, I bless you, I forgive you, I forgive myself. You know, you say sort of that to yourself, like, okay, what is not in alignment here? And then if you have the courage, and it takes a lot of courage, and to create change is hard work, you know, to have to pivot. And it's like almost like you're so sick of the current situation. It's so bad.
You have to be pushed to do it.
Yeah. Or if it could be very simple. Like in a personal relationship, maybe you're dating somebody, and after 3 dates, you're like, this doesn't feel in alignment with me. And I have to probably let this go.
Yeah, I actually know a lot of people have trouble even doing that.
Oh my God, I'm an expert at it. I'm really good. I have a script. I can give it to everybody.
I mean, you have to, like you said, to protect your time and the other person's time, and it just, why waste it?
And like, you have to, you know, if you treat people with respect, in the letting go process in a personal relationship is having a meaningful conversation, and like, don't do it over Zoom if you can avoid it. Don't do it over phone or text. Like, respect the person enough to do it in person.
It's hard with people in today's day and age. Everybody wants to do everything online, easiest way as possible. But I agree. In person is way better. And you get to practice the courage part. You know,
yes,
you get
it's
to
not
practice
easy. I remember I had to let go of this one person that wasn't in alignment with me, and he knew it was coming, and oh boy, and I was like, oh God, it's okay. I'm a very nice person too. I was like, oh shoot, like, we're not in alignment here. And that's what I said. That's all. It's very simple. Like, I'm
So sometimes we overthink it.
Yeah, like I so really enjoyed my time with you. I learned so much from you. And now it's time, it's like I feel that we are on different paths. We want different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's simple.
Yeah,
it's
simple.
really that simple. But it's actually facing someone that takes courage.
Yes, and it takes practice. So I think just like public speaking, just like running a business, talking to employees, even facing your friends sometimes, it just takes practice to be able to have those difficult conversations.
Yes.
Well, we are running out of time. I can talk to you for hours. But I would like to close with two things. So one thing I love to ask my guests is, what does a happy and fulfilled life look like to you right now?
Okay. A happy and fulfilled life for me right now would be...
Right now, yeah. Because it does change.
Yeah, it does change. I think it would be a nice balance of personal and professional and family life where I feel like everything is flowing and on purpose. But I actually think that everything that's happening in my life is fine right now, actually. Like, 'cause I think part of living a content life is it's an attitude, actually. So I have an attitude of that I'm always in a process of change, and that nothing I'm currently in right now is going to be completely permanent. And so to be comfortable in that sort of feeling of, and staying as grounded as I can. So my home life with my daughter is always pretty grounded, so that's always happy and fulfilling. And then my career path is, I think, always growing or expanding. That part is harder to manage, but I'm going to make it happen, right?
Yes, of course. In business, as we talked about it, nothing's ever quite the same. It has seasons, it's up and it's down and it's all around. Yeah. So it's fun to maneuver through it as well.
Yeah.
But so happy and fulfilled life for you would be to have a good balance with your time and energy and resources with your family, personal, and career.
Yes. And then just that everything feels good or feels right, or having equitable relationships in your friendships and your love relationships and business relationships. Everything is equitable. Everything feels like
positive emotions. Everything's giving you positive emotions.
As much as you're giving to me, or I might be giving 60%. That's fine, as long as there's some beautiful energy exchange and that everything's growing up. Positive and moving forward.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So our last question is your last words of encouragement for our listeners, our entrepreneurs, our people who are looking to continue their personal development journey, because that's what we're all about. And that's why this podcast is actually called the Yegi Project, because I feel like I'm always at a project of improving my life or my business in some way or form.
Right.
So what is your last words of encouragement for our audience who are currently working on themselves or their businesses?
Okay. I would say my last words of encouragement to all of you would be to find your passion and purpose, identify what your skill sets are and what makes you happy, and also find that cross section of your purpose with your life goals, and that anything can be achieved whenever you set your mind to it. Anything is possible. If you set your mind to it, you take steps to manifest it, action steps actually on the earthly plane. And then you do your manifestation through meditation also, and ask for guidance from above if you believe in the universe and God. And then also to understand that I think I'm coming from this standpoint because in my practice, I do encounter people who are also in my hypnotherapy practice who are at the end of their lives. And so I think having that attitude that your time can be limited on this planet. And so I hope that everyone can see their life in a broader perspective, and like how you want to leave this earth. How do you want to leave your legacy? How do you want to leave this world? Like, what do you want to give back? So that your light and your life is like this comet, like of light. Like I want to see my life like a comet, where I come down from the heavens and I leave a trail of light behind me, so that when people look up, oh wow, they're touched by that light.
I love
and so that's what I want for everyone to experience, to sort of think beyond like your own microcosm,
your physical being,
or yourself, or your family unit. Like go beyond, maybe into your community, maybe go into the world, have an expansive experience, because life is, you have to experience everything that life gives to you. When you see people who are about to pass on, so a lot of people have regrets. So have no regrets. Like try everything that you want to in life. You know, if you have your youth, take advantage of your youth, you know, have your energy, because eventually you're going to be like older, like me, you know, and then you're going to be like, oh my God, I have a backache here. Oh shit. You know, oh, I can't hike Machu Picchu anymore, you know? So, you know, enjoy life and balance it, have purpose, have meaning, try to experience everything within reason, you know, like nothing that would like end your life. Like don't do crazy shit, too crazy, too much crazy shit. But you know,
calculated risk,
like, but enjoy life, and also seek happiness from within. Seek happiness, because
I think that's a very important one.
Yeah, because people will disappoint you, and the world will disappoint you. And, you know, it's not like a thing that ever goes away. Like I asked my mom the other day, I was like, man, I had this interaction with this girlfriend of mine. I was like, damn, like this, she was like getting strange and competitive and jealous. And my mom's like, I am 76 and that still happens to me. You know, just sort of like understanding that people are fallible. And so you can only seek happiness within yourself, really. And from the people who truly love you around you. Yeah.
I think if we do choose to be happy from within, no matter what situations or what life presents us, we can rely on that. You know, we can still find the joy in that moment, because no matter what, none of our lives are ever going to be super perfect. We will have perfect moments, right? But we have to find a way to just appreciate the now, the present, the whatever we have, material or not, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that was very beautiful. I love that, the last words of encouragement. I think it's very inspiring for our audience and for myself as well. And I want to take my time and thank you again for coming, especially in person. I love having my guests in person, because we are a lot of times stuck doing things virtually just because everybody's all over the world, but it's so nice to connect. Before we close, can you please tell our listeners, where can they find you?
Thank you so much, everyone. And first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so honored to be part of your podcast. But they can find me at my website, which is www.panneywei.com.
Okay, and we'll link all of that below for the spelling.
It's spelled PANNEYWEI.com. And then I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook, X, but I don't really use X that much anymore. And TikTok and LinkedIn, all at Panney Wei.
Awesome.
Yes. And if people really have questions, they can also email me.
And comment below too. We'll try to get back to you guys with specific questions as well. And if it's very specific to Panney, I'll move them to her and she can help us answer those. But
yes, I have a general email that people can email me at info@panneywei.com.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you so
next
much.
time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.